All right, Peters, look, I'm going to start where you're right, and that's where we agree on the Commerce Clause. You said that, yeah, Commerce Clause can be used to regulate health insurance, even though it may in some cases be an intrastate activity. It certainly affects interstate commerce, and therefore it falls under the jurisdiction of the Commerce Clause. Beautiful, we agree. But we still disagree on the taxing power, which is where you're wrong, coincidentally. Or not coincidentally, perhaps. You're citing this case from 1925, I believe it is, but you have to look at what the court's done since 1937, beginning with the Marijuana Tax Act, which is actually an act of Congress, which wasn't struck down by the court, for the record, in 1937, which imposed a tax on the cannabis industry in order to basically regulate it out of existence, and that was perfectly fine. It was perfectly constitutional. Also in 1937, you had Sonzinsky v. U.S., in which the court found, and I quote, "Every tax is in some measure regulatory, but it is not any less a tax because it has a regulatory effect." And the ruling goes on to say how it's not the court's job to interpret Congress's motivations in imposing a tax. It's, you know, as long as if it's a tax, it's okay, basically. And also, you can't just wave your hand and say, well, you misinterpreted Kahriger, when the plain text of that decision clearly supports my position. I'm going to read that part of the decision again. Quote, "The fact that the tax has a regulatory effect and brings about a result that is beyond the direct legislative power of Congress does not render it invalid." That is plain English supporting my position that Congress can use taxation as a regulatory mechanism to influence behavior in some way, and certainly to influence economic behavior, which the purchase of health insurance is. But going back to your other point that we can't, or Congress can't regulate inactivity, I say it can, and under both the Commerce Clause and the taxing power, it seems like precedent is on my side, that Congress can absolutely say you need to do A, B, or C for whatever reasons, as long as they have a rational basis for those reasons. But they can't do it if it infringes upon some fundamental right. So my question is, what fundamental right is infringed upon by mandating that people have to purchase health insurance? There's no right to be uninsured. Does it? In some cases, certainly it might cause a free exercise of religion problem, but there can be exemptions for that. Does it constitute a takings? Probably not, because the money's not going to the government, plus you're getting something back for the money you're spending. So I don't really know. Would there be some sort of fundamental right that is infringed upon by Congress saying you need to buy health care? It seems like under the Commerce Clause and under the taxing power, they certainly have the authority to do so. I just cited, two cases, plus an act that say I'm right. Plus, I mean, if you look at more recent cases. But anyway, my time's up. Back to you. Those are my questions.